Welcome to WDW Escape, brought to you by WDW Magazine. Today we bring you another practically perfect preview of an article from an upcoming edition of WDW Magazine. Our February 2022 issue is the Cast Member Magic issue, celebrating those wonderful folks who deliver the magic that we all love. Please enjoy A Trip Down Memory Lane, the great movie ride at Disney's Hollywood Studios by Katherine Hiles. If there's one Disney World ride that evokes a strong emotional reaction, it's the Great Movie Ride. This now closed attraction not only captured the hearts of guests and cast members, but it was also the inspiration for Disney's Hollywood Studios and the heart of the original Disney MGM Studios theme park. The Great Movie Ride made its debut in May 1989. Originally, the dark ride was planned for Epcot's Future World, but expanded to become the backbone of a new movie-themed park. According to Disney lore, then CEO Michael Eisner saw the plans for the ride and decided that it was worthy of its very own movie-themed park. Around this time, the new Universal Studios was under construction nearby, which likely spurred Eisner to create a competing park. The Great Movie Ride facade is a replica of Mann's, now Grumman's, or for branding TCL, Chinese Theater in Hollywood, complete with a Chinese red pagoda and guardian lions. Imagineers designed the grandeur of the building to draw guests further into the park. Like its namesake theater in Los Angeles, the building's concrete entryway included hand, foot, and paw prints of famous movie stars. Prints included Jim Henson, Michael Jackson, Leonard Nimoy, Donald Duck, and of course, Mickey and Minnie Mouse. The prints are still in front of the Chinese theater to this day, which was a smart decision, as removing them would surely cause outrage from Great Movie Ride fans. Ready for a trip back into cinematic history? Hop into our DeLorean, let's chart a course back in time and experience the Great Movie Ride. As we enter through the gilded Chinese theater doors into the lobby, we're greeted with famous movie props, like Dorothy's ruby slippers from The Wizard of Oz, a carousel horse from Mary Poppins, a spacesuit from Alien, and Rose's dress from Titanic. Side note, there was room for Jack on the door. We wind through the queue area before entering a small theater room showing a variety of classic film trailers. Next, a set of automatic doors opens to reveal the ride vehicles. The cast members usher guests onto one of two vehicles. The one chosen for us determines which path through the ride we'll take. The entertainment factor of the Great Movie Ride rests largely on the shoulders of the cast members, who act as tour guides. As the ride vehicles move through the attraction, tour guides talk guests through the movie scenes performed by the impressive animatronics who dance and move to the movie soundtracks. The very first featured movies are musicals, including Mary Poppins and Singin' in the Rain. Animatronic chimney sweeps dance and sing on the rooftops, inviting us to be a part of the film. Once out of the watchful eye of Mary Poppins, the real action begins. In 1930s Chicago, with scenes from the movie The Public Enemy. During this section, the lead vehicle moves ahead, while the second one stops at a red light. While waiting for the light to change, a cast member hijacks the vehicle, acting as a gangster named Muggsy. Terrified by the high-energy shootout, the tour guide runs off, leaving our vehicle in the hands of Muggsy, who promptly shoots out the red light and comically continues the tour. What a rush. Both cars continue into a Western-themed section. The rear car with Muggsy at the helm continues past a cowboy shootout and moves on to the next section. Meanwhile, the front car passengers experience a hijacking scene of their own, this time with a bank-robbing bandit who jumps into the car and disposes of the tour guide. This bank robber also continues the tour, but with different lines than Muggsy in the other car. Next, the vehicles move into an area modeled after the spaceship from the movie Alien. Here, the new nefarious tour guides tell guests that the alien on board is looking for its next victim. Nervous, the hijackers speed up their vehicles, but not quite fast enough to escape the attacking alien coming down toward us from the walls and ceiling. Moving from space to ancient tombs, the ride next takes us to a scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark, with Indiana Jones trying to lift the Ark of the Covenant. In one of the temple rooms, a large jewel sits center stage, right above an altar. Since bandits love jewels, this catches the attention of the hijackers on both vehicles. Ignoring the warning that anyone who touches the jewel will die, the hijackers grab the jewel and disappear in a plume of smoke. When it clears, all that is left of each hijacker is a skeleton. The temple guard then reveals themselves to be our original tour guide, who rejoins the vehicle for the remainder of the ride. Our hero! Once the tour guide rejoins, the ride goes through a burial chamber full of mummies as an homage to the horror genre. After that, it enters the jungle where animatronic versions of Tarzan and Jane swing through the trees. Finally, the ride meanders down the yellow brick road through the world of The Wizard of Oz and stops in a theater room that plays 3 minutes of classic film scenes before going back to the staging area to pick up the next passengers. To really understand what it was like to be a cast member on the Great Movie Ride, I spoke to former cast member Stephanie Porton via email. Porton worked the ride as a tour guide from 2014 to 2016, and before that worked at Epcot's Innoventions in 2013. I asked her what the training was like for the Great Movie Ride. Training was its own beast, she explained. Not only were you learning queue management and how to load the vehicles, but you were also learning the script of the ride itself. And not only that, but cast members had to learn 2 versions of the script, one for the Western scene and one for the gangster scene. Both scenes came with a different set of choreography that had to be followed exactly, not just for timing, but for safety reasons, explained Porton. Because the training was so intensive, cast members really bonded with their trainers and felt like they were all part of the same family. The cast affectionately referred to our trainers as our parents, which also meant you could follow your family tree of who trained with whom through the history of the ride, Porton said. I still refer to my trainer, Dave, an absolutely magical human being, as Dad. I even got him a mug on Father's Day one year with another sibling who had Dave as a trainer. The close-knit vibe of the cast members who worked on the Great Movie Ride was a huge part of what made the ride so magical. Another factor was the incredible attention to detail that the Imagineers used for the ride. I think my favorite thing about the ride is the care and detail the Imagineers took when creating the ride, Porton told me. For example, in the alien sequence, there are computer screens along the hall, just as there would have been on the Nostromo in the movie. However, in the ride, instead of listing the crew on the screen and their location, it lists the Imagineers and what they're doing. One example of this is Imagineer Doug Griffith, who was listed as still programming the witch, in reference to the Wicked Witch of the West figure that was notoriously hard to create and program, according to Porton. When she wasn't working on the ride, Porton told me she loved to bring friends and families on the ride as guests and point out some of the details that only a cast member, or a huge Great Movie Ride fan, would notice. When I rode as a guest, I loved sitting in the back of the vehicle and quietly pointing out secret details to the people I was riding with, Porton remembers. That included the hidden Mickeys, as well as other hidden Disney characters like Donald Duck, R2-D2, and C-3PO, and hidden references to other movies in the tour guide's script. Sadly, for fans of the Great Movie Ride, it shut its doors on August 2017 after 28 years in service. The Chinese theater building remained, but the ride inside it was something totally new, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, which opened in March 2020. Although the Great Movie Ride has closed its doors, its legacy lives on. Just a quick online search will bring up hundreds of results of cast members like Porton and guests reminiscing about the fun they had on the ride. And for those of us who didn't get to experience it in person, their memories help us feel like part of this legendary ride that is the entire reason Disney's Hollywood Studios exists today. You have been listening to WDW Escape, brought to you by WDW Magazine. When you need more Walt Disney World in your life, WDW Magazine has you covered. Beautiful photography, entertaining articles, and stunning keepsake issues you will enjoy time and time again. Subscribe to WDW Magazine and escape with us every day.